The next morning, my son came back with a woman who was supposed to prove I was too old and confused to live in my own home. He thought I would panic. Instead, I placed one document on the table that made his face turn completely white. Because the night before, I had discovered something far worse than their plan to take my house. They had already used my identity to try to get a loan. I called Patricia before Daniel could arrive. "What did you find?" Her voice was serious. "The second property isn't the important part." "What is?" "They were planning to use your house as collateral." I closed my eyes. "So they wanted my house?" "Yes. And my financial information?" "Yes. And they already submitted paperwork?" There was a pause. "Yes." My hands started shaking. Not from fear. From anger. Because Daniel hadn't simply asked me for help. He had built an entire financial plan around something he believed he could take from me. Then Patricia said something else. "Eleanor, there's one more problem." "What?" "The loan application contains a signature that appears to be yours." I went completely still. "I never signed it." "I know." "Then who did?" "We're going to find out." At 9:30 that morning, Daniel returned. This time, he wasn't alone. A woman stood beside him. She introduced herself as a family support specialist. Daniel immediately began explaining. "My mother has become increasingly confused." I looked at him. He continued. "She refuses reasonable assistance." The woman looked at me. "Mrs. Harper, do you feel safe here?" "Yes." "Do you know what day it is?" "Yes." She asked me several simple questions. I answered every one. Then she asked, "Do you understand why your son is concerned?" I looked at Daniel. "Yes." "What is your understanding?" I took a breath. "My son is concerned about losing control of my property." Daniel's face went pale. "That isn't true." I reached for the folder beside me and placed the email on the table. The woman picked it up. Daniel didn't move. "Where did you get that?" he whispered. I looked at him. "You left it in my house." He stared at the paper. Then at me. For the first time, I saw fear in my son's eyes. Not fear for me. Fear of being discovered. The door opened. Patricia walked in. She carried a thick folder. Daniel immediately stood. "Who is this?" "My attorney." He looked at me. "You hired an attorney?" "Yes." "Why?" I stared at him. "Because you gave me a reason to." Patricia placed several documents on the table. Property records, account protections, correspondence, and finally, the loan application. She pointed toward the bottom. "This document lists Mrs. Harper's property as collateral." Daniel said nothing. Patricia continued. "This application also includes financial information that Mrs. Harper says she never provided." Daniel looked at me. "Mom, please." "No. I can explain." "No. We were under pressure." "That isn't an explanation. We needed help." I looked at him. "You needed my house." He didn't answer. I slid the document toward him. "Why is my signature here?" He stared at it, then looked away. "I don't know." Patricia spoke calmly. "That question will be answered through the proper process." Melissa arrived 20 minutes later. She walked through the door already angry. "What are you doing?" Daniel turned toward her. "You didn't tell me she had an attorney." Melissa froze. "What? You said she would sign." "I thought she would." "You said she always gives in." I watched them. For the first time, they weren't standing together. They were blaming each other. Melissa turned toward me. "You're destroying our lives." I looked at her. "No, you don't understand what you've done." "I understand exactly what I've done. You ruined everything." I shook my head. "No, Melissa." I pointed toward the documents. "I stopped paying for your plans with something that never belonged to you." She started crying. Daniel began shouting, "You don't care about your own son." I looked at him. "I cared about you for 40 years. He stopped. "I paid your tuition." Silence. "I worked 2 jobs." Silence. "I helped you buy your first car." Silence. "I protected you from every hardship I could." My voice became softer. "But I will not protect you from the consequences of your own choices." The specialist asked Daniel and Melissa several questions. Why had they planned to move me out? Why had they prepared documents? Why had my financial information been used? Why had they discussed my property with an attorney? Why had they told people I was confused? Their answers kept changing. First it was about repairs. Then my safety. Then my age. Then financial pressure. Then, miscommunication. But the documents told a different story. Emails, drafts, loan paperwork, property records, dates. Everything they had said could be compared with something they had written. And slowly, their story collapsed. Nobody had to shout. Nobody had to threaten them. The paperwork spoke for itself. Then Patricia placed one final document in front of Daniel. It was the property protection filing I had completed the night before. This means, she said, that no transfer or refinancing can proceed without Eleanor's direct authorization. Daniel looked at me. You did all this overnight? I nodded. He shook his head. I thought you didn't understand this stuff. I smiled sadly. You never bothered to ask. Daniel sat down. For several seconds, he looked like the little boy I remembered. Then he whispered, Mom, I'm sorry. I believed that he was sorry. But I wasn't sure what he was sorry for. Losing me? Or losing access to me? So I asked him, what are you sorry for? He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. I nodded. That answered my question. I gathered my documents. Then I said, you didn't lose your mother today. He looked at me. You lost access to her. His eyes filled with tears. Please don't do this. I looked at him. I didn't do this. I pointed toward the documents. You did. I left the house that afternoon. Not because they had forced me out. Because I wanted a fresh start. I found a small apartment in a quiet community. It wasn't luxurious. It didn't need to be. For the first time in years, I slept without wondering who might be making plans behind my back. I changed my locks, changed my passwords, changed my financial protections, and most importantly, I changed the way I thought about myself. I had spent my entire life believing independence meant never needing anyone. Now I understood something different. Independence means being able to choose who you trust. Months passed. The investigation continued. The loan application was flagged. The property remained protected. Daniel and Melissa's plans collapsed. Their marriage became strained. I heard very little about them. And surprisingly, I didn't miss knowing everything. One afternoon, Daniel called. Mom? Yes. Can I see you? I thought for a moment. Yes. We met at a small diner. He looked older, tired. He sat across from me. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. Finally, he said, I was wrong. I didn't answer. He continued, I thought because you were my mother, you'd always choose me. I looked at him. I always chose you. He nodded. But you chose yourself too. Yes. He looked down. I don't know how to fix what I did. I reached across the table. You can't erase it. He looked at me. But you can make sure you never do it again. He nodded. That was the first conversation we had where he wasn't asking me for anything. Not money. Not the house. Not access. Nothing. Just forgiveness. And I realized something important. Forgiveness does not mean giving someone the keys again. Today, I still think about that night. 8:17 p.m. My son standing in my kitchen. Telling me I had until midnight to leave. He thought he was giving me a deadline. He didn't know he was giving me something much more valuable. Clarity. I finally saw the difference between love and obligation. Between helping someone and allowing them to use you. Between being a mother and being someone's financial resource. I still love my son. But I no longer confuse love with surrender. And if there is one thing I want every older woman listening to understand, it's this. Your age does not erase your voice. Your kindness does not make you weak. Your family does not automatically own your trust. And saying no does not make you a bad mother. Sometimes saying no is the first time you choose yourself. Daniel once told me I had until midnight to leave my own home. He thought I was an old woman who wouldn't know how to fight back. But he forgot something. I had spent 71 years learning how to survive. And when the people I loved tried to take away my future, I finally realized that protecting myself wasn't selfish. It was necessary. So if someone tells you that setting boundaries means you don't love your family, remember this. Love should never require you to disappear. And sometimes the most powerful thing an older woman can say isn't loud. It is simply, no. This is my life. And I am still here.